Michael, you define green jobs very shortly, in a short way, as preserving or restoring the environment. And I think if we take that as shorthand, poor people are often engaged in exactly this kind of work because they don't have the luxury of working in sectors that require, that are capital intensive, that are skills intensive, or technology intensive. And further, the Green Jobs Report notes that green jobs are not automatically decent. They can be dirty, dangerous, and difficult. And while the media now reports on climate change regularly, it hardly mentions that the impact of climate change will depend much more on the development path of economies and societies than it will on the changes in natural ecosystems. So negative impacts can be cushioned or even averted if climate change adaptation policies integrate these measures to address employment and income, as the report notes. So to do this for the world's working poor, I think we should focus on a few key things. First, the poor face barriers to entry in labor markets and product markets that are often based on gender, class, and ethnic differences and other axes of discrimination. A Green Jobs initiative, to be truly sustainable and transformative, should take into account these barriers from the beginning. For poor people to overcome structural constraints that are facing them and increase their share of decent and green jobs, they'll need targeted organizational support, access to capital, easier establishment of a legal identity, and training opportunities. As Marty Chen of the Global WeGo Network for Women in the Informal Economy has said, she calls it voice, validity, and visibility, and I think that's very relevant. Second, working people themselves must be the agents of change. I would hate for us to wait for either government or private sector to promote this green jobs agenda in either rich or poor countries. And so the task is really, we've hardly begun to reach out to networks of informal workers, and I think we must do that immediately. Third, we have to build a good evidence base for quick action that doesn't set up a false dichotomy between trade-offs between green jobs and decent work and economic growth. This has bedeviled the notion of decent work for years, as though if you promote human rights within work, you're going to slow down economic growth. As the president of Finland, Tarja Halonen, said at our Decent Work event last Monday, developing countries should not say, we'll do it when we become rich. If you don't do it when you're poor, then you will never do it. It will constrain the pace at which you become rich. So to back this up, we're going to need better analytics. And finally, in terms of a strategy, I think the nascent green jobs movement has to think carefully about how it reaches out in a number of ways. First of all, to join forces with those that are already working on climate change and human rights. There's a growing movement in this area, and I think green jobs fits very well into that. Secondly, to create complementary strategies so that we don't have competition between workers in the formal and informal economy. There's a lot of potential for that I think we can avoid. And at the developing country level, trying to work this into existing mechanisms. And I thought of two in particular. One is poverty reduction strategies that are usually used as the aid framework in developing countries. And the second is the funds that will be coming in for adaptation strategies from the climate change talks, that if we can build green jobs into that at the national level with national ownership that incorporates, again, both the formal and informal sectors, I think that will make a difference.